Cardcaptor Sakura was way ahead of its time. We weren't ready for cardcaptors. It's true that it was a total time capsule of late 90s fashion, tech, sports with the rollerblading. I think because North Americans got Cardcaptor late in the early 2000s, we all sort of thought it was a response to the popularity of Pokemon and Digimon, but in reality, chronologically, in Japan, Cardcaptor Sakura kinda kicked off the entire craze in 96. The Cardcaptor manga released a year before the Pokemon anime, just a couple months after the Red and Green games dropped. Sakura was battling and collecting troublemaking spirits 2 years before Shaman King, a decade before Bleach, 15 years before Yokai Watch. I watched Cardcaptors on Teletoon back in the early 2000s any chance I got, and that English dubbed theme song plays rent-free in my head. I loved what I saw, though I'm well aware of its many localization cuts and changes, which have been covered extensively on YouTube and elsewhere, so this video won't be me comparing the Nelvana dub to the original sub. Instead, this will be me sharing my thoughts rediscovering Cardcaptor through the manga. I read the first 600 pages of Cardcaptor Sakura recently, 3 volumes, about 13 chapters, so here's what an adult male who loves the Mon tamer genre and Millennium era anime thought of 1996's Cardcaptor Sakura in the year 2026. Cardcaptors of the cloud expect the unexpected now. Cardcaptor Sakura is the work of Clamp. That's not the pen name of a single author, but rather an all-woman team of 4 writers and illustrators. This was fascinating for me to discover, one of the earliest signs of Cardcaptor Sakura's truly unique nature. I'm so used to manga coming from the mind of a single visionary, you know, your Akira Toriyamas, Rumiko Takahashis, Hiromu Arakawas. You sometimes hear about their mysterious editors or assistants, but Toriyama is still the one. Clamp, on the other hand, is a team. They are collectively the creators of Cardcaptor Sakura. So that's the who, but how about the what? Let's get into the content. Cardcaptor Sakura opens on this stunning establishing shot of a city skyline that blurs the line between illustration and photography, art and reality. It's a theme that'll keep coming up. Without looking it up, I genuinely couldn't tell if the black and white image was a photograph or not, though of course the gorgeous, larger-than-life moon is clearly an illustration. We drop straight into a chase. Sakura is after the physical manifestation of a Clow card, essentially a spirit the size of a rookie or champion Digimon. After completing the first catch, she gives a peace sign directly to the reader, and it becomes clear that what we just saw was a VHS recording of the prior night. Sakura's spirit guide, Kero, is watching the footage like a Saturday morning cartoon, while Sakura slowly wakes up, more blurring the line between reality and fiction, using the 90s tech like the video cameras and VHS tapes to do so. Sakura, serving as narrator, tells us that her classmate and best friend Tomoyo filmed the catch, that what we saw was no movie or class project. Nope, it really happened. Sakura tells the manga reader what the opening theme song told the viewer, the inciting incident of the entire series. Quote, 2 months ago, I came upon an old book in my dad's library. Kero-chan came from the cover of that book. He says he's the creature of the seal, assigned to protect the book. Clow Reed, a sorcerer with supreme powers, created the cards and warned that if their seal is ever broken, disaster will befall the world. Kero tells Sakura that the book can only be opened by someone who has access to magic. Given she opened it and woke him, this has got to mean that Sakura has some pre-existing power to do magic. This was news to me, or at least I forgot. It's been over 20 years since I last watched Cardcaptor, so I was surprised to learn Sakura is truly a magical girl with or without the Clow cards. Cool. As the day progresses, we connect with the filmmaking, fashion-loving Tomoyo and learn about her mother, who is the head of some corporation. Sakura tells us she's super rich, but still really nice. The implication being that most super rich people aren't really nice. Queen Sakura dragging the elite since chapter 1. By the way, I love that it's Tomoyo's mom, not a father running this mysterious mega corporation. It's a refreshing shake-up for the rich girl friend thing. Plus, her mom has an all-woman security staff that is equal parts funny and iconic. There is so much girl power in this, I love it. We learn that Sakura has already recovered 3 Clow cards since April, that Tomoyo has been documenting the journey and designing Sakura's battle outfits. This much I remembered from the early 2000s, but I forgot this iconic line from Tomoyo explaining her thought process. Quote, when you do special things, you simply must wear special clothes. And then in tiny text it says, and capture it on video too. In the next chapter, we're back to card capturing. Card capturing, the fly card, or the personification of the card, is on the loose. Sakura tries using Windy, her go-to card she's kind of been spamming for her first few captures, but Kero tells her Windy's magic won't work against the fly card because fly is under the same element of wind. She's like a new Pokemon player relying solely on their starter, now hitting Misty's gym and trying to beat Starmie with a Squirtle, spamming Bubble Beam on the water gym. I love this introduction to types, making this feel even closer to a Monster Tamer story. In addition to the elements though, Keto explains that there are friendly cards, moody cards, mellow cards, and violent cards. In other words, it's not just the elemental rock-paper system of other series, fire beats grass, water beats fire. Cardcaptor Sakura presents emotions like Pokemon types. It's such a clever remix, if you can call it that. Maybe it's less a remix and more an alternate path for this kind of stuff. It's just interesting, now it's so established, but back in 1996, the rules hadn't been set. Even cooler, Kero informs us of a system where writing your name on the cards you captured will make it so the spirits will follow your orders. Like, Sakura is making a covenant or contract with the spirits, but it's also very childlike and nostalgic for toy lovers and collectors. When we were kids, we would write our names on our stuff, like Andy's name on Woody's boot in Toy Story. I wouldn't necessarily endorse writing your name on your Yu-Gi-Oh cards, but maybe you wrote property of blank on your card binder or your deck box. It created this bond between you and your things, which Cardcaptor Sakura is gamifying, kind of lorifying in a way I enjoy. But that is still not my favorite part about the Fly card chapter. Sakura ultimately captures this card not with a show of strength or brutality, or by maximizing the elemental rock, paper, scissors. Instead, she gets the card back with compassion. In a dream, she sees that the Fly card spirit has been lashing out not because it's inherently nasty, but because it was injured and scared. Fly is not known to be a violent card, as we discussed the cards having emotions and personality types in addition to elemental types. By the way, if you like my thoughts on the monster tamer genre, I have my very own anime-inspired light novel, Monster Revolution, that is my modern take on those types of stories and games. I'll tell you more about it at the end of the video. You can get a paperback, you can listen to me read the first 30 minutes on my other channel. Back to Sakura. In Chapter 3, those rules governing Cardcaptor Sakura's world are fleshed out even further when Sakura sees her deceased mother in the lake. It's a pretty serious tonal shift from what came before, as we step straight into themes like death, grief, hallucination. We're told that Sakura has been in tune with spirits for ages, not just the personified spirits of the Clow cards. Things like ghosts, yokai are not new to her. It's just that she engages and hunts Clow cards because at least she understands them. She talks about how ghosts are an unknown to her, how they freak her out, and so she just isn't touching that. She's not going there. I love that we don't deny that ghosts and other spirits exist in this universe. We're just focused on Clow cards. What a cool detail for world building. Sakura believes that her mother is trying to pull her into the lake, nearly drowning her. She's saved by Yukito, her high school brother's best friend and her big crush. Once she comes to terms with the fact that her loving mother would never do something like that, drowning her own daughter, she realizes what she's been facing is actually the illusion card, a Clow spirit that shows people what they love and what they fear. In a great show of Sakura's character, she's not like, oh god, my mom really is gone. Instead, she goes, quote, I'm just glad that mom wasn't really alone in this lake, which is so gentle and kind. Also, quote, I would love to see her, but I'm happier to know she's in a beautiful place above the sky. Next up is a story that goes all in on the unrequited love theme seen throughout the story, whether it's Tomoyo and Sakura, Yukito and Sakura. Tomoyo's super dope mother, Sonomi, tells Sakura's father that she was always in love with his wife, Sakura's mom. It's straight up unambiguous queer confirmation in this late 90s manga, something that totally caught me off guard. I must confess, I've heard the whole did you know Madison was gay stuff online for decades, but I never knew how explicit Cardcaptor was. I have to admit, I thought at most it was implied in this 90s manga, but that's not the case. It's all there right on the page. So yeah, happy pride, I guess. Sonomi, the rich mother of Tomoyo, blames Sakura's dad, Fujitaka, for taking Nadeshiko away from her, for keeping them apart in her final years of life. There was a serious age gap and power dynamic with Sakura's dad and mom that I'm not touching, other than to say I do not endorse, I do not rock with it. It strikes me as both a product of the time and the genre that Clamp was working in, but outside of the age and status stuff that I don't care for, I appreciate the why couldn't she have been with me of it all, with Tomoyo's mom. This tragic thought that in another life, if only she fell for me, maybe somehow she'd still be alive. Sakura's mother died of an illness though, so we know her fate wouldn't have changed, but you can see how Sonomi would think about it all the time. Of course, I can't end the video without talking about the arrival of Lee, a character that the North American dub absolutely latched onto in its marketing. Desperate to let boys know that it was okay to watch a magical girl series, Lee enrolls in Sakura's school and lets her know that he knows about the Clow cards, about Cerberus, and wonders why the Great Sun Beast entrusted this all-important task to a 4th grade girl. She discovers Lee's heritage links him to Clow Reed himself and wonders if she should hand off the task to him, a living relative of the Great Sorcerer. But Kero insists she should not not give up, that she did the right thing by not handing her cards over to him. Quote, "You're the one who opened the book and woke me up. You, Sakura, have the power to use the cards, so finders keepers." He's using childish terms, finders keepers, but it shows a great trust in Sakura. He believes she's the one for the job, even if he simplifies to LOL finders keepers to convince her, a 4th grade girl. Still, Lee doesn't yet believe that Sakura has the stuff to collect the cards. Since the beginning, Kero has told us that disaster will fall upon this world if the cards aren't collected. We've kept this in mind, but we haven't really thought much about it, whereas Lee seems to take this omen very seriously. We now have competing captors with the same mission. Lee won't stop Sakura from collecting cards, but is deeply concerned that her compassion-first tactics and her timing are a problem. Sakura won't stop Lee from assisting her now and then, but refuses to hand off the book, the cards, the task to the young descendant of Clow Reed. That's about where I'll call it for this video. If you've seen my stuff, I like to review in batches. These are rarely full series reviews, but reflections and analysis on arcs, on openings to series. My Cardcaptor revisit is not done, so feel free to subscribe if you want my take on the rest of the original series. But as for the first omnibus, the first 600 or so pages, let me try to summarize my thoughts. Written by committee is kind of a dirty word / term when people talk about manga and anime. A singular visionary like Akira Toriyama with Dragon Ball versus a group of writers like on GT, Dragon Ball Super, or Daima. We tend to go group equals bad, committee bad, but what if the group has a crystal clear vision, are incredibly aligned, incredibly talented, and have worked together for years? Then you get something like Cardcaptor Sakura. The committee style of Clamp is awesome. Cardcaptor Sakura is gorgeous, it's original, it's funny, it's working. Humanizing the monsters / spirits we're taming is so great. I always say Pokemon are like your imaginary pets and Digimon are your imaginary friends. The Clow spirits are like imaginary delinquents, troubled classmates I guess, capable of good if guided with compassion and understanding. I don't know why, but my head goes to the Batman the Animated Series episode Harley's Holiday, where at the end she asked Batman, "Why'd you stay with me all day, risking your butt for someone who's never given you anything but trouble?" And Batman responds, "I know what it's like to try and rebuild a life." Different situation, different context of course, but yeah, that compassion first captoring is so special to me. Such a great way to do monster taming / spirit catching, especially knowing that Sakura has suffered too with the loss of her mom. She has big feelings for these misunderstood spirits. Learning more about the real-world timeline has me even more impressed with Cardcaptor Sakura's originality. It was not a girl-focused response to Pokemon or any other monster tamer spirit catching series, far from it. It was a pioneer in so many ways. The girl power of it all is also great. This is pre-Powerpuff Girls, pre-Totally Spies, pre-K-pop Demon Hunters of course. Obviously Sailor Moon existed, and I'm not suggesting Cardcaptor Sakura was the first manga anime heroine, but I was so impressed with Clamp's characters and world. It's no wonder girls, as well as boys my age, fell in love with Sakura and her mystic adventure. So I plan to keep reading. In fact, I can't wait to keep reading. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on Cardcaptor Sakura or Cardcaptors. If you watched it when it was new, if you found it later, if this video helped you figure out why you always had a soft spot for it, or maybe why you didn't. Subscribe for my retrospective check-ins on Millennium era anime like Beyblade, Metabots, and of course, my favorite, Digimon. Thanks so much for watching. Do me a favor and subscribe if you can. Free, just one button click. That's all it takes. Have a great week. I will see you in the next video.
Of the cloud, we're all a mystery.